Welcome back to the channel. Today's video will be about this off-the-shoulder top. It's really nice and easy to make. This is not my original pattern, it's inspired by this video and I'll link it down below. For this project I'm using size 4 yarn, 3.5mm hook, yarn needle, scissors, and a couple stitch markers, or you can use paper clips. Begin row 1 with a slip stitch and 19 chains plus 1, so overall 20 chains. Take your hook, pull it through, pull through. This is 1 chain, 2 chains, and continue that until you have 20. This is going to start the ribbing for our off-the-shoulder first panel. For row 2, do a single crochet into the 3rd stitch from the hook. So just insert your hook into that 3rd stitch. Pull through your yarn and pull through 2. And now we're going to work normal single crochets until the end of this row. I'm working it into both of the stitches in my beginning loop. You can work it into just one. To begin the 3rd row, you want to chain 1 and you're going to single crochet, but now into the back loops only. So it is this little chain stitch in the front. So we only go into these loops from now on. And you do normal single crochets into those back loops until the end of the row. For all the following rows, we're just going to repeat row 3. So you go into the back loop and you pull up a loop and you do a normal single crochet, but in the back loops only. So you want to have single crochets in the back loops only in every single row. This will create a really nice ribbing effect. I recommend trying it on from time to time to see if it fits your shoulders. It shouldn't be too tight or it shouldn't be too loose. I did 158 rows. We now take our ribbing, make sure it's like all straight and neat, and we're going to slip stitch 2 of the sides together. So pull through 2, and we're going to just pull our yarn through the hook as well, and we're going to do that into every single stitch and the stitch parallel to it. Make sure this isn't too tight, but there is still some tension as this holds the top together. You now want to turn it around inside out to reveal this cleaner part of our stitch, and you want to insert your yarn ball through the hole just to make sure it's on the right direction. So you want the stitch to look like this. Now we move on to the raglan, and there's a very simple formula for this. So you count your domes. For me, all of my stitches came up to 158. On this diagram, I'll show you where we're adding our increases, so therefore our raglans, which make up the sleeves. So into these 4 stitches, we're going to be adding increases. Proportionally speaking, the top will be 1, bottom will also be 1, and the sides will be 1/2. So overall, there is 3 parts. Now subtract 4 from your total stitches. These are the increase stitches. We have 3 parts, so you want to divide your number by 3. You want to only write down the whole number. For me, this is 51. This is 1 part, so we have 51 stitches on top and 51 stitches below. Multiply the number you get by 3. Subtract this number from the amount of stitches you have without raglans. So for me, it's 154 minus 153, which is 1. add 1 to like the 1/3 part. So this is the number when you get by dividing your total stitches by 3, and you want to divide that number by 2 to get how many stitches you should have on each side. We'll now put the stitch markers in to know where we should put the increases in. So I'm starting from the part where we stitch the two sides together, putting my stitch marker here, and now you're going to count 51 rows, or however many rows you have on your diagram for the back or the front. You insert your stitch marker not into the 51st stitch, but into the stitch following it. This will make sure the raglan is in its place. Now you continue doing this for all the stitch markers. For example, now I'm counting 26 stitches and will place my stitch marker on the 27th. Now I'm counting 51 stitches and placing my stitch marker into the 52nd. Now you want to count your stitches until the very first stitch marker we inserted, just to make sure all your counting has been correct. We now begin the raglan by chaining 4 and double crocheting into the same stitch. Now you do as many double crochets as you need to reach the next stitch marker. For me, this is 51. I prefer 1 double crochet per row. This just makes sure all the numbers add up. When you have reached your stitch marker, you want to work 2 double crochets into that stitch. So here is my first, now my second. Now you want to remove your stitch marker and place it in like the gap between the two double crochets. This will show us where to insert the increase in the next row. Now do 26 double crochets into every single row. Work 2 double crochets into the stitch marker and put it in between like the 2 double crochets as we did previously. And you want to continue doing this pattern of inserting 2 double crochets whenever you see a stitch marker until the very end. To end the row, you are going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 4 we did at the start. The next row will be exactly the same as the previous row, so you chain 4, you do a double crochet into that same loop, except now you're going to do as many stitches as there are to go until your next stitch marker, and place 2 double crochets where the stitch marker is. So we place 2 double crochets in the middle of those 2 previous double crochets, we're in the same gap the stitch marker is in, and after this we continue as normal, doing normal double crochets until we reach the next stitch marker and do exactly the same thing. I've crocheted around 10 rows using this method. You need to try it on and see if your arms fit through the holes. So the holes are where the stitch markers end, so I'm just showing them right now. So where the back and the front meet. I'm going to decide if I want a bit more, if I want a bit less. Just make sure it fits you. We are now going to be crocheting the body of our sweater, so you want to begin this row as normal. You want to do just double crochets from the yellow stitch marker until this red stitch marker, so just one panel. After you've done this, we're going to be connecting the two sleeve parts, so just insert your last double crochets. And now you fold together your sweater and you insert a double crochet like I'm showing you on the screen into that opposite stitch marker. Now you do the same row of double crochets all along that back panel until you reach the next stitch marker. We're now joining them together with a slip stitch, so you want to take your other piece and slip stitch into the top of the chain 4. For this row and all the following rows, you're going to chain 2, and we're going to do just a row of normal double crochets all along, no increases, no decreases, just double crochets into every single stitch. You end every row like this with a slip stitch into the top of the chain. You're going to repeat this row for as much as you would like, for as long as you would like your body to be, but keep in mind we're going to do a ribbing on the bottom. My body worked up to 14 centimeters, and now we're going to be moving on to the sleeves. To do this, you want to fasten off, so chain 1 and snip your yarn off, leaving a tail which we're going to weave in later. Insert your yarn anywhere in the arm. I'm doing this at the little seam, so I'm doing this by taking a slip stitched yarn, putting it on my hook, tightening in it, pulling it through. Now you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put a double crochet around every single stitch in the arm. So this is 1, and you want to do enough stitches to go around the full arm until the other end. To fasten off, we slip stitch into the very top of the chain we did in the beginning. Chain 2, and we begin another row where we place double crochets into every single previous stitch. We join it up at the end, and now you're going to repeat this row for the length of your arm. You're going to do this enough and just leave a little bit of space for the ribbing. You want to do this exactly the same thing on the other arm as well. This is how the first arm should look like. As you can see, I left some space to put the ribbing near my hand. End each arm by pulling your loop through and fastening off. Now you want to check out the part where we did the ribbing, and you want to do exactly the same process for the ribbing in the arm. You want to make sure this fits over your hand and is very nice and snug, and we're going to join it up together in exactly the same way we joined up the ribbing, so by doing slip stitches through both of the sides. Now you want to turn it inside out, and we're going to be attaching it onto our sleeve by just inserting it, like sliding it on there. Now, because the wrong side is up and both of the side of the sleeve and the cuff are attached, we're going to be like properly attaching them with slip stitches along the row. You want to place a lot of slip stitches, enough to go from the front to the back, just like this, just as we did previously, and this will attach the ribbing. Place a slip stitch into the very top of our first slip stitch. Pull the yarn through, chain one, and now you can fasten off. This leaves us with one arm done. You want to do exactly the same thing for the other side. Now we're doing the bottom ribbing, which is just the ribbing above your belly button. I followed exactly the same process as I did in the beginning. This is enough to go around my stomach with some space. And now we're going to be attaching it to our body in exactly the same way we just attached the sleeves. So we twist it around our body. You make sure the wrong side is up, and we slip stitch. To finish off, you want to weave in all the messy ends in your sweater, as you don't want those coming out at the wrong times. The sweater turned out so cute. I love it so much, and if you've enjoyed this video as much as me, please make sure to like and comment. Bye!